Junior Achievement of Greater Cleveland and Citizens Bank presents JA Personal Finance, Session 5, Consumer Protection.
Citizens Bank fits the flow of your life with tech that makes you ready to rise and shine. Matcha latte. Video call, get the groceries, pay the rent. Order in and split the cost of the bill. Get paid with a pic. Post a pic, like a pic. Heart eye emoji. Shop, buy, stream. Click, snap, tap. Nighty-night, sleep tight.
Hi, welcome back. It's Nadata Letson at Citizen Bank. Today we're going to learn about protecting your finances from threats that can put you at risk. Let's start with a definition. Cybersecurity. What do you think that means? Well, cybersecurity means a practice of defending computers, servers, mobile devices, electronic systems, networks, and data from malicious attacks. Let's determine whether each one of these statements is fact or fiction and draw it to the correct place. First statement, you can only get hacked on a computer. Fact or fiction? If you said fiction, you're right. How about if you have a strong password, you are safe? Fact or fiction? Fact or fiction? Let's try fact. Nope. That's fiction. Even strong passwords can be hacked. So change your passwords regularly and consider using a password management tool. How about this next statement? If you have an antivirus software, you don't need anything else. Fact or fiction? Fiction. You're absolutely right. And this next statement, your computer can have a virus and still seem to be working normally. Fact or fiction? Fact. Unsecured computers typically don't exhibit symptoms of having been hacked at first. People don't typically know when someone may be controlling their webcam, gaining access to their emails or bank accounts, or taking control of their computers to attack other targets. How about this statement here? You can get hacked even if you're not using a browser. That's true. If your device is unprotected or out of date, you don't even need to be using a browser to get infected. Sometimes your computer can be infected just by turning it on. So there are three main objectives to this course. And after completing this section, you'll be able to list ways to protect online information, recognize how a credit report can help you identify suspicious activity related to your finances, and third, recognize risks involved with sharing finances.
Hello everybody, thank you for being part of the Junior Achievement Program. I hope you learned a lot up until this point, and I hope you continue to learn a lot over your lifetime with the Junior Achievement Programs. My name is Andrew Willis. I am a branch manager with Citizens Bank, and I've had the opportunity to work in banking over the last 15 years. I work a lot with consumers and small businesses to help them make money, save money, and ultimately protect themselves. So up until this point, you've had the opportunity to learn about earnings, budgeting, savings, credit and debit. Today, I'm going to speak to you a little bit about consumer protection. What consumer protection is just like it sounds. It's to protect yourself and your finances in this digital age. So you personally have to be very vigilant about protecting your information with proactive behaviors. So what behaviors do you think would harm your personal finances and make you vulnerable to identity theft? So never give out your personal information. Don't save your passwords. Make your passwords very challenging. Don't use simple information like your birthday, your social security number. Don't use your dog's name. Pay attention to what you post on social media. There are a lot of fraudsters out there that are very good at social engineering, and that's taking over your identity. And they use a lot of the information from posts that you put on social media, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, whatever the case may be. Just be very vigilant and thoughtful about what you put out there. Because the more information a fraudster can get, the more harm they could do to you and your finances. I've seen this happen to so many people over the years. It takes a lot to get someone back to whole. If someone does get a hold of your information, to get it fixed is very challenging. It costs you thousands of dollars. You have to work with your attorneys, the credit bureaus, everything, and it can take many, many years to repair your good name. So there are many ways that you can help protect your finances. And I said a couple of simple things are making sure that you change your passwords and make them complicated. Change your passwords very frequently. Review your credit reports to make sure that no one is using your personal information for their gain. Any personal documents that you have, if it has your social security number, your name, your address, any information like on it, make sure you destroy it appropriately. You throw it in the shredder, you have a fire in the backyard, whatever the case may be. Just make sure that you are taking part in your own protection. Because banks do help out quite a bit when it comes to that. When you're using a debit card, there's steps put in place to make sure that no one's using your debit card that's not you, and there's ways to help protect against that. But when someone gets a hold of your social security number and stuff like that, they could really do harm to you. Some sites that I recommend to some of my clients, just to kind of help them out. So USA.gov is a really good site. It talks about scams and what fraudsters are currently doing and what the current trends are. In the event someone does get a hold of your information, the Federal Trade Commission, they have a site called identitytheft.gov, but it's a really good site and it talks about a lot of different types of frauds that are going on right now and how to help you repair them. Lastly, you can always reach out to anyone at Citizens Bank. We're pretty versed in regards to how to help you fix it, or any of your local banks would be more than happy to help you out with that. Unfortunately now it's such a common occurrence. Most financial institutions have programs set in place to help you get educated about protecting yourself and making sure that your good name stays your good name. I appreciate your time today. Have a great day and enjoy the program.
Let's watch this video together, how to prevent identity theft. And as we're watching the video, I'd like for you to think of answers to the following questions. What is social engineering? How can you prevent social engineering? What is phishing? What is impersonation? And how can you prevent oversharing? My colleague Andrew Willis also spoke on these matters earlier on. Let's watch the video together, then regroup and have some discussion.
Meet Dan. Dan has been working as a corporate co-engineer for the past 6 years. Recently, Dan applied for a new credit card, only to find a few days later that he was denied. Understandably, Dan is stunned. He's always been careful with his credit and has a good, stable income. What gives? Well, there are a few possibilities. Some of them are benign, like Dan not meeting an unusual credit card company policy. Others, however, are not as great, in particular, identity theft. This is when someone steals your personal information, like a social security number, and then uses it to do everything from opening credit cards, to getting new loans, to stealing your tax refund, all in your name. While this is certainly bad enough, the other problem with identity theft is that even though the accounts are in your name, you may not get the bill for them. This can make it incredibly difficult to discover the crime, and thus it's not uncommon to find out like Dan did, through an oddly denied application. In fact, there's really only one sure way to find out if you've been a victim of identity theft: your credit report, simply because it details every account you've ever opened, willingly or not. If you're not sure what this report is or how to get it, be sure to check out our video, Credit Scores Reports 101, as well as the free website annualcreditreport.com. But let's assume Dan understands his report and just checked it. What did he find? Well, sure enough, Dan found 3 mysterious credit card accounts, all with massive overdue payments. Dan is at a loss. What should he do? Well, his first step is actually his only step. Go to the free federal website identitytheft.gov. This website is fantastic. Not only is it incredibly easy to use and navigate, but it's also comprehensive, walking you through step by step exactly what you need to do to resolve any type of identity theft problem. In fact, it's so good, it allows us to skip ahead to our final topic, the 10 rules Dan and everyone else needs to follow to avoid future identity theft and fraud. Rule 1. Check your credit report at least once a year for suspicious activity. If you see some, don't delay. Go to identitytheft.gov immediately. Rule 2. Regularly check your monthly statements and bills for suspicious charges. In addition, if you can, try to go paperless, as these documents are much harder to steal in their online form. Rule 3. Shred all personal and financial documents before putting them in the trash. Rule 4. Keep any personal and financial records you don't want to shred, like your tax returns or social security card, in a safe place. Rule 5. Be incredibly suspicious when someone asks you to wire money. It's the modern day equivalent of paying in cash, and thus almost impossible to get back or trace. No wonder it's a con artist's favorite. Rule 6. Don't respond to emails, texts, or phone calls asking you for your personal or financial information, even if they seem official, like an email from your bank. If you're truly concerned, avoid the message, and instead, call the financial institution directly. Rule 7. Always shield your PIN and password whenever you enter them. Rule 8. Use strong passwords, and make sure your computer is protected by a strong firewall and up-to-date antivirus and anti-malware protection. Rule 9. Whenever shopping online, be sure to check the beginning of the URL for a little green lock. This indicates the site is secure. Finally, Rule 10. Don't click on sketchy internet job offers, like those promising you a guaranteed amount of income while working from home. These are scams, plain and simple. Hopefully you and Dan now better understand how to avoid and deal with fraud and identity theft. If you want to see more educational material or our financial product recommendations, be sure to check out our website.
Now let's go back to those questions. How about social engineering? What is that? Well, in the context of cybersecurity, social engineering means deceiving someone to manipulate them into giving away confidential or personal information that is then used for fraudulent purposes. Social engineering also refers to network intrusion, system disruption, and identity theft. How can you prevent social engineering? You're right. Know whom you're talking with before sharing information. You should always report scams. And don't share too much information with too many people. Remember what Andrew mentioned about oversharing? Don't share information in ways that are unsecure. How about phishing? You're right, you picked this up in rule number 6 in the video. Phishing means impersonating a reputable company or sending out emails, text messages, phone calls to get the recipient to reveal their personal information, such as their passwords or credit card numbers. And how about impersonation? You probably picked up on that in the context clues, right? Spot on. Impersonation means pretending to be a trusted person or source in order to gain information to a person's information or a computer system. And I bet you know what this means. Oversharing and how to prevent it, right? So assume that any information you share on a social network site is public. Don't share information online that you would not share in person. Only connect to secure wireless hotspots. Make sure to sign on and off wireless networks when you are no longer using them. And use privacy settings, as well as limit the amount of personal information you post online. Do not add strangers to your social media sites. And before you accept an invitation to connect, ensure the person really is who they say they are. So it's very important to protect your personal information. You really have to be cautious about what you share online. During this global health pandemic and economic crisis, there are a lot of scammers and hackers trolling the internet looking for personal information on others for their own private gains. I'd like to share with you several safeguards that we have on our Citizens Bank website that can be applicable to you or used by you and your family members and or friends. So here are just a few tips, and I'm sure you have some too. So these are tips for catching and reporting suspicious emails. You should always inspect emails for grammatical errors, even those claiming to be from, say, the CDC or the World Health Organization. At no time will anyone ever receive a call or email from our bank or your reputable bank asking for your login information and credentials. And before clicking on any links, you should always hover over them to see the URL and see if it's something that is recognizable and legitimate, something you're used to going to, something you're familiar with clicking on. And if you ever suspect an email is fraudulent, do not, I repeat, do not reply to the email. Now, if you're a Citizens Bank customer, you can call the number here or attach the email that you received and send it to us at abuse@citizensbank.com. Thereafter, you should immediately delete the email from your inbox. Now, if you're not a Citizens Bank customer, many banks, traditional banks, have similar processes. Feel free to give them a call at their customer service line, and someone will help you. Before going to the next section, let's quickly review some tips for protecting your online information. How about the do's? Do keep private information like your phone number, your address, your social security number off social media sites. Make sure passwords are a mix of numbers and symbols and capital and lowercase letters, and use different passwords for each account. Now, human behavior, we want to make things simple. Please avoid using your same password for multiple accounts. Hackers and scammers are looking for that type of information, and if they get access to one password, they're going to attempt to use it for multiple accounts that you own. How about the don'ts? Do not use public Wi-Fi or a public computer for posting private information. That seems pretty straightforward. Don't overshare, and definitely do not share negative information or things that are inappropriate or abusive that reflects poorly on you. Think before you share. You should also avoid posting information about when you will be away from your home. So, for instance, you're on Facebook and it's a Friday and you say, hey, I'm looking forward to going to the beach this Saturday, or taking a trip out of town this weekend. Well, that information is public and it tells when you're away from your home, and that can actually compromise the security of your home while you're away. Also, never post pictures of yourself wearing your work uniform with the company logo on it. So, this is a dead giveaway of information about where you work, and oftentimes for, say, credit information, creditors want to know where you work. So if a hacker or a scammer knows that information and they have bits and pieces of other information, they can easily take the information about where you work, put it into an application, and fraudulently and illegally open accounts in your name. These are just a few additional tips on how to protect yourself and your online information. Let's go over a couple key terms: identity theft and credit report. If you were describing each one of these terms in your own words, what would you say the definitions would be? Identity theft. You're right. So if you said something similar to a crime that occurs when someone uses your name, social security number, credit card, and other personal information without your permission, then you're spot on. And what about a credit report? You've heard about that, or what that is, in an earlier session or two. You're right. A credit report is a record of your personal financial transactions or credit history. So I have a couple questions for you. How can a credit report relate to identity theft? Exactly. You can use your credit report to protect your finances because it often will show evidence of any suspicious activity that may have occurred on it. So it's wise to review your credit report often. And there are a number of sources that you can use to do that, like annualfreecreditreport.com and Credit Karma. So I've been a victim of identity theft before, and it was no fun, right? So I'm traveling and I go to a restaurant or two, and then I come home, and I recalled that when I got home, I looked at my credit card statement and I saw a couple transactions that I didn't recognize. Well, I certainly recognized the restaurant, but I didn't recognize a couple other transactions from that restaurant or a couple restaurants in the area. So then I pulled up my credit report, and I also saw some other suspicious activities. So I immediately called my bank and shared with them what I saw, and they could determine, based on information they had, that the transactions were not mine. Lo and behold, I could also see that someone began to attempt to have my credit card statements mailed to a different address in a different state. Not good. So there were a whole host of actions that I had to take in order to protect my identity as well as my finances moving forward. And we'll cover some of those steps that you can use to not only protect your rights, but also how to recover if you're ever a victim of identity theft and fraud. Know your rights. There are safeguards that have been put in place to help consumers dispute information on their credit report and to restore their credit score if it is found to be inaccurate, or even if it indicates that fraudulent activity may have occurred. So, there are a few things you should know in order to know your rights. There are three major consumer reporting agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can get a copy of your credit report from each of these every 12 months, and you have the right to dispute anything that's inaccurate or fraudulent on them. and the consumer reporting agency is required to investigate a dispute. Finance detective. Take a look at the screen here. All of this information belongs to Mary, a 19-year-old college student. This is her credit report, her credit card statements, some emails, and a smartphone. Let's look for activity that's suspicious, such as credit card charges that seem out of place, or risky behaviors like sharing information that should be kept private. How about the credit report? What do you see here? That's right. Mary's credit report shows a score of 580. A below average credit score could lead to higher interest rates or Mary being denied credit in the future. A late payment on a high interest payday loan could lead to expensive additional fees or could lead to Mary being considered a higher credit risk in the future. How about her phone here? Take a look at these messages. Mary's careless posting on social media could lead to trouble with her boss, or could even cause her to lose her job. All right, how about the email? Well, an email asking for confidential information could be a phishing scam or fraud meant to collect personal information in order to steal Mary's identity. She responded. That's not good. Well, let's take a look at the credit card statement. This one here, Golden Turkey Senior Citizens Golf Tourney entrance fee for $186 seems suspicious to you? Or Big and Tall Shoe Emporium? Well, they should. Mary's a 19-year-old college student, and it appears as if these charges are not in the location that Mary may be in, right? So they're in different states and for a different age group. And certainly the amount appears to be out of line with her normal spending habits, right? So these charges could indicate that Mary's credit card number was stolen. Mary should check her statement carefully each month and follow up on any purchases that she does not recognize. Sharing finances. So there are some risks associated with sharing finances with other people, right? So let's think about this. Why would anyone want to share finances? Give it some thought. Why would anyone want to share a bank account or credit cards or loans with other people? Well, let's discuss it. Bank accounts. So family members or roommates may want to have the convenience of a shared account to pay bills, right? So having a joint bank account can eliminate the need for people to send money back and forth continuously, and it could make working towards a shared goal, like an upcoming vacation or down payment for a home, it can make working towards that easier. All right? How about a credit card or credit cards? Family members or trusted loved ones may want to add an authorized user to a credit card for convenience or to help the other person build credit. So, if one person has good credit and someone that the person loves has poor credit, the first person might make the second person an authorized user on the credit card to boost the second person's credit score. Also, one may consider sharing loans. So why would someone want to do that? So family members or friends may want to make large purchases together, like buying a car. And when making a large purchase, one might ask someone to co-sign to help to secure that loan. Now, remember, both co-signers and co-borrowers are agreeing to be responsible for the loan. The big difference is that the co-signer has no right to the property with the loan money, while the co-borrower is usually listed on the title. As you imagined, there are some risks of sharing finances. So, what's the worst that can happen? Let's select each one of these items, be it the icon for the account, bank account, credit cards, and loans, to learn more. So on a bank account, the other person can take everything from the account without your permission. Account co-owners can spend, give away, or transfer funds to other accounts with or without the consent or knowledge of the other account holder. How about credit cards? The other person can make charges that you have to pay for, and your credit score can be affected. So it's important to know that authorized users on a credit card are not responsible for their debt. Let me repeat that. Authorized users on a credit card are not responsible for their debt. The primary card holder must pay if the authorized user fails to do so. So be careful. How about loans? The other person could stop paying, leaving you to pay the whole loan. Your credit score can be affected. So in this scenario, co-signers or co-borrowers are responsible for the loan, right? So you both take out an application for a loan. You're both approved for the loan. You're both responsible for the payments of the loan. So if the payments aren't made by the co-borrower, who else is on the loan, the lender can come after the co-signer for payment. The co-signer could be sued, and her or his credit could be damaged. Again, these are some of the worst things that can happen. Consider this. Before jumping into sharing finances with someone, there are some big questions that you should ask about the relationship. Is everyone involved honest? Do the parties involved trust one another? Is everyone being treated as equal? And do the parties know how to openly and effectively communicate with one another? Now, as long as everyone is honest who's involved in the relationship and there's trust among everyone, then they may or may not decide to share joint financial information. So before jumping into sharing a financial account with another person, start with some small steps like sharing or developing a savings towards a shared goal. This may help build trust first and equality and healthy conflict resolution over time. Know this: you should never feel like you must share an account with someone to be in a healthy relationship. Okay, financial decisions. Let's take out our student activity guide for consumer protection and scroll to the sharing financial decisions section. Would like for you to take about 5 minutes reading each of these 3 scenarios and develop a tip sheet or a FAQ, frequently asked questions, for the person who is considering sharing an account or a loan with another person. You can use the questions in each one of the scenarios as a guide. Again, feel free to take about 5 minutes, come up with your tip sheet, and let's share with one another. Okay, let's get back into it. So, what were some of the tips that you came up with? Well, I tell you, I wish I was with you. Would love to hear some of your ideas. I'm sure they're really great. You probably came up with tips like, before deciding to share your finances, consider whether the person is trustworthy, right? Do they have a history of paying their bills on time? Do they have a consistent income? Have they ever lied to you before? I'm sure some of you thought of those questions or tips. Some of you probably have thought about, if you decide to share an account with another person, make sure both people have equal access to it, right? That if one person is in charge of making payments, both people should know everything that's happening with the account, right? And how about, establishing a system for communicating about shared accounts and cards and loans? For example, one party might let the other one know that they're making a charge or withdrawal, right? And how about if you're co-signing for a loan, make sure you get notification of the payment status, right? You want to make sure that if your name is on the loan, that the payments are being made on time, right? Whether or not you are responsible for the payment system, if you're co-signing on the loan, know that you're also responsible for the payment. So you want to make sure you stay on top of that. How about if you're sharing an account, you might also want to keep a separate account for your own individual expenses, right? Just because you're in a relationship with someone and you're sharing finances may not mean that you're sharing all of your finances. So you might want to keep a separate account for your own expenses. And when you're sharing a joint account, maintain an honest, communicative relationship about the money, right? Should probably set up automatic bill payment or mobile notifications for the joint account activity so everyone can stay informed. Now, after reading these scenarios, would you consider sharing finances with another person? Perhaps some of you would, and perhaps some of you would prefer not, at least not at this time in your life. And that's okay. Okay, let's wrap it up. Let's review a handful of questions to help us recall what we've learned during this section. And for each one of the questions, we're going to select all of the answers that are correct. So the first question, how can a credit score be improved? Make a plan to pay bills on time. Try to pay off all debt as soon as possible. Apply for a loan to pay off credit card debt. Close out credit card accounts. Which of these answers are correct? You're absolutely right. Make a plan. Pay off all of your debt or your bills on time, and try to pay off your debt as soon as possible. How about this question? What is the best plan if you accidentally respond to an email requesting personal information? Should you contact your bank and tell them to set an alert on your account, monitor your credit report for suspicious activities, or do nothing? The damage is already done, man. And how about, while you're at it, change your email address? Well, doing nothing is not the correct answer. We can all agree on that. And in most cases, you don't need to change your email address. In extreme cases, perhaps, but in most cases, not necessarily so. So contact your bank and monitor your credit report for suspicious activities. What is the best way to protect your digital tattoo? And recall, that's your online rep. And so it can be extremely difficult to change or remove what's put out there into the internet universe. So, should you delete offensive posts? Think carefully before sharing online. Post anything as long as it's honest. Use a fake name. Which of these are the correct answers? Well, if you think carefully before posting and sharing things online, you probably wouldn't need to use a fake name or delete anything offensive because you're not posting it, right? And perhaps the information that might be true doesn't need to be shared online. So I agree. Think carefully before sharing online. How should you address suspicious charges on a credit card? How should that be handled? Notify the credit card company, call the stores where the suspicious charges occurred, cut up the credit cards, track down the person who made those charges. The safest route may not be to track down the person who made the charges, and cutting up the credit card doesn't resolve the issue. And depending on the store, if you're familiar with the store, maybe you should call it. But if you're not familiar with it, probably shouldn't call it. Just go straight to your credit card company and notify them of the activity that is suspicious on your account. Now, how about this one? You added your sister as a user to your credit card to help her build her credit history. She is supposed to make payments every month. What will happen if your sister stopped making payments? Okay. So you added her to your credit card so she's an authorized user. She's not a co-signer. She didn't apply jointly with you, but she is an authorized user. So if she stops making payments, what will happen? Your sister's credit will be affected. The credit card company will garnish your sister's wages to get the money she owes. Or you will be responsible for paying what your sister owes. So of the three, what we've learned is definitely this last one is correct, right? Before we wrap, there are two more resources that I'd like to share with you. Both are from the Federal Trade Commission. This is the consumer information site. This site is really great to learn to gather more information on how to protect your identity. And then identitytheft.gov, which you can also get to from the Federal Trade Commission site, can help you take the steps needed in order to recover in case you are a victim of identity theft. And both of these sites, again, can be accessed by going to the Federal Trade Commission consumer information site, as well as the identitytheft.gov site. Congratulations! You've just completed the 5th and final session of the JAE Personal Finance series. It's been an exciting journey to learn with you and share information and grow with you. We think you're ready. We think you're ready to take your next steps towards building a stronger and healthy financial future. And we hope that at some point we can engage with you again. Until then, stay safe and be well.